When I first did a GTS swap in my AE86, I had issues getting a GTS fuel tank. See, the GTS fuel tank has baffles inside of it meant for fuel injection. The SR5 tank, which is what my car had, doesn't have any baffles. It's meant for a carbureted engine, so things were a little bit different. And back then it was pretty much impossible to get a GTS tank because people are hoarding them for lots and lots of money. Nowadays, however, there are aftermarket solutions, which is what this is here. It isn't a perfect solution, so I'm going to talk about the problems, the downfalls, but also show you what I did here to refresh my entire fuel system because, well, my dyno day failed because of a rusty old GTS fuel tank. This tank is made by a company called Spectra, and the part number is T01B. It isn't normally black. I painted it black. It comes in an aluminized steel, and then I scuffed it and painted it because I wanted it to not be shiny under the car. I used an engine enamel, so that way it should be fuel and oil resistant, so that way the oil or the fuel doesn't corrode or take apart, eat up the paint. And then what I've also done is I've replaced my fuel pump hanger. This is a new OEM unit. You can still get these, which I was very fortunate for because mine is pretty gross. It was rusty from years of use, plus if you look at the electrical connection there, it's kind of gross and corroded. So yeah, that one, no more using. I have had pretty good luck with Deschwerks pumps. So this is a DW200. It's a 255 liter per hour pump, which should be more than enough for a 4AG or in my case, a Beams 3SGE. I've just crimped on and heated the connectors here for this pump. I made sure I've got these guys nice and tight because if you don't, you'll get a fuel leak from here. And yeah, that should solve hopefully most of my issues. And because my car has a digital dash or digital cluster, I've had to use a digital level sensor. Fuel level sensors are hard to come by new. I think you can still buy new gaskets for them, but this is the blue top. That's how you know it's a digital level sensor at a quick glance. Inside of the fuel tank, let me see if I can zoom in on it here. There is the baffle that I'm talking about, this guy right here. Normally that wall is not there on an SR5 tank, so that's what's nice is this does have that internal baffle. Quickly, I'm going to talk about the downsides of this tank and where things might go wrong with it. I've heard of people having issues around the seam where the upper and the lower pieces come together, where it actually will leak fuel sometimes. So just be aware it may seep fuel out of that. One of the other problem areas is actually the filler neck. This filler neck is actually brazed onto the gas tank itself, and instead of being bolted on with a gasket like the OEM one. So you can see this, that's where it bolts on at. The OEM one also has those bellows there for a slight amount of flex that the Spectra tank does not have. So sometimes what can happen is when you're installing it or something, that can actually get damaged and develop a leak from that brazing joint, and then you've got a fuel leak from there. The last thing that I've heard about is it not wanting to fill up. Inside of the tank, that is your fuel vent that goes over to the filler neck. And I'm thinking that maybe in some of these, it's positioned too low, which is causing it to not want to fill up all the way and not vent properly. So that's definitely a possibility. I'll only know once I get the tank in the car and try filling it up. And the last tidbit isn't necessarily something that that's a problem, but it is a difference. See, the original tank has a drain plug, which makes it easy to drop the fuel tank because you can drain the fuel out and then drop the tank down. But the Spectra tank does not have any sort of drain plug, so that's just be aware of that. Don't mind my paint failure there. I got to go back and fix that. The only thing left, I think, to refresh your fuel system at this point would be a new fuel filter, which luckily those are available both from Toyota and from auto parts stores. You can replace them pretty easily. That's a GTS fuel filter right there, and well, I have adapters on mine so I can run AN lines, but I'll probably pick up a new one of those because of all the rust that was in my fuel system. So there you go. There is a quick fuel system refresh guide of sorts for your AE86. Especially for getting a GTS fuel tank if you're not fortunate enough to get a good quality OEM one. I will post a review later on my channel once I get this in the car, run the car for a while to see how well it's holding up. So make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel so you can see how this works out in the next couple of weeks. I will say that my plan is actually to refresh the GTS tank that I have. I really would like to use an OEM tank because I think there are some quality differences in the OEM one versus the aftermarket one, and I have an OEM one to refresh, so I might as well do that. But if you don't have access to an OEM one, this is usually pretty okay. The one thing to note is that when you're installing it, the original tank has these pads on it, right? Here, here, over here, and right there, okay? And those pads are there for a purpose. They make sure that you're not going to rub against the chassis and through the fuel tank. So you might want to throw something on there, maybe just a couple of sound deadening squares on those spots, so just be aware that that's a good idea, a good thing to do. I haven't done it yet, but I'll do that before I toss this in the car. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.